Elon Musk's DOGE initiative, $21.7 billion in taxpayer waste revealed. Imagine this. Billionaire Elon Musk and former President Donald Trump, both known for their cost-cutting rhetoric, ended up squandering a staggering $21.7 billion of taxpayer money. Shocking, right? A recent report from the minority staff of the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, PSI, reveals this jaw-dropping figure. The report, led by Democratic ranking member Richard Blumenthal, is the culmination of an extensive investigation into Musk's DOGE initiative, which was tasked with eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse, and identifying $2 trillion in government savings by July 2026. But here's where it gets controversial. Despite their ambitious goals, Musk stepped down as a Trump advisor in May, far from achieving the DOGE objectives. This departure followed a dramatic public fallout with the president, exacerbated by congressional Republicans, backed by Trump, passing legislation that could balloon the deficit and national debt by trillions. The report's findings are damning. The $21.7 billion in waste is more than double the $9 billion in DOGE cuts recently approved by Congress. These cuts, part of a White House-backed rescissions package, targeted public broadcasting and foreign aid. Blumenthal's team meticulously reviewed public records and analyses to uncover the massive waste. One of the most glaring examples is the Deferred Resignation Program. Introduced by the Office of Personnel Management in January, this chaotic initiative squandered $14.8 billion by paying around 200,000 federal employees not to work for up to 8 months. The 55-page report also exposed over $6 billion in waste from more than 100,000 federal employees involuntarily separated from their jobs but kept on administrative leave, often for weeks or months, while still receiving pay. Other startling revelations include $263 million in lost interest and fees due to the Department of Energy freezing dozens of utility project loans, $155 million wasted on time costs for employees to comply with Musk's directive to send weekly accomplishment emails to the OMB, a move that caused widespread confusion. $110 million in food and medical supplies left to spoil in warehouses. Nearly $42 million spent relocating staff closer to physical offices. $38 million lost on 4 failed projects at the National Institutes of Health and the IRS. $66 million spent on professional staff underutilized for entry-level tasks. Blumenthal minced no words. In response, the Connecticut senator has called on inspectors general from 27 government agencies to further investigate and review the financial toll of DOGE's actions on taxpayers. So, what do you think? Was the DOGE initiative a well-intentioned flop or a costly misstep? Share your thoughts in the comments. DOGE wastes billions. Trump's efficiency department exposed. Imagine a government department that costs taxpayers billions just to keep employees from working. Sounds absurd, right? Yet that's exactly what a recent Senate report claims about Donald Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. According to the findings, this controversial entity has squandered nearly $22 billion in taxpayer funds, money used to pay federal workers not to show up for their jobs. And here's where it gets even more contentious. The report suggests this waste far outpaces the budget of the very cuts DOGE was supposedly designed to enforce. The report, compiled by Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal's team for the Senate's Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, paints a damning picture of DOGE's operations. It accuses the department, co-founded by Trump and Elon Musk under the banner of efficiency, of generating at least $21.7 billion in waste within just 6 months. That's more than double the amount of the Trump-backed rescissions package recently passed by Republicans to formalize DOGE's cuts. The report's authors argue that DOGE's approach has been less about streamlining government and more about dismantling it. with Musk's leadership during his first 4 months at the helm mirroring the now infamous Silicon Valley mantra, move fast and break things. But as the report dryly notes, DOGE stopped at the breaking part, never bothering to fix what it destroyed. The numbers tell a stark story. A staggering $14.8 billion, or nearly 2/3 of the total waste, went to the so-called Deferred Resignation Program, which paid around 200,000 federal employees to stay home for up to 8 months. Another $6.1 billion was tied to over 100,000 employees who were either fired or in the process of being let go, many of whom were still receiving paychecks for weeks or months without working. To put this into perspective, that's roughly the cost of funding universal health care for 1 million Americans, or building thousands of miles of new highways. But the waste doesn't end there. The report also highlights $253 million in lost fees and interest from frozen energy project loans, and $110 million in spoiled food and medical aid left to rot in warehouses, instead of being distributed to those in need. These aren't just numbers, they're real-world consequences. Could this really be the path to a more efficient government? Or is DOGE a cautionary tale of ideology trumping practicality? Blumenthal's team didn't stop at the report. They've also sent letters to inspectors general across 26 federal agencies, demanding assessments of DOGE's financial fallout. And public opinion? Polls from April showed a majority of Americans disapproved of DOGE's work, a sentiment likely reinforced by this latest evidence. The long-term damage, as the report warns, could be catastrophic. Disrupted global aid efforts, a brain drain in U.S. science, and a federal workforce in disarray. So here's the question. Is this the future of governance? Chaos disguised as reform? Or is it a necessary, if messy, step toward cutting the red tape? We'd love to hear your take. Drop a comment below and let us know. Do you think DOGE's approach is a bold experiment or a reckless gamble with the public's trust?